Isioma had been trying to open that door since she was 12 years old. She just never told anyone she'd finally figured out how. Whatever was behind it didn't rush out. It waited, like it had been expecting company for a very long time. None of us understood how water could burn. But Mama Udara had always said the river kept things it was owed. Maybe this was it collecting. The king stopped being careful with his words. "Seal the west corridor," he said. "If she's found that door, we are already too late." I didn't know how I knew who he meant, but I did. The same way I'd known the symbol above the gate before anyone explained it to me. I ran before I decided to run. My feet already knew the way, through corridors I had never once walked in my life. The deeper I went, the less it felt like exploring, and the more it felt like remembering. I caught up to her at the threshold. Neither of us said a word. We just looked at each other like two people who'd both been lied to by the same person for different reasons. It wasn't gold. It wasn't a weapon. It was a bowl of water, so still it looked solid. And somehow, that was far more frightening. "My mother," Isioma said quietly, "used to bring me here when I was small. She told me this was where they kept what they couldn't kill." I asked her what they couldn't kill. She looked at me like the answer was standing right beside her. My reflection smiled before I did. I want you to understand, I was not smiling. It smiled anyway. "That's why they sealed the door," Isioma whispered. "Not to keep something out, to keep something in. And it's been waiting this whole time for you to come looking at it." It reached toward me, not aggressively, almost gently, like it recognized me too and had simply been waiting its turn. That's when Dayo finally caught up to me. And for the first time since I'd known him, his fear wasn't performed at all. He pulled me back a half second before whatever that was would have touched me. I don't know what would have happened if it had. Part of me wanted to find out, and then it just stopped, went dark, went ordinary, like it had decided at 17 years wasn't nearly long enough yet, and it could afford to wait a little more. I didn't know it then, but the water going dark wasn't the end of anything. It was just deciding who should be the one to explain me, the king who'd been hiding a debt, or the woman who'd been paying it in silence for 17 years. Mama Udara had never once set foot inside that palace in all the years I'd known her. She walked through those gates like she still remembered exactly where every corridor led. And, stranger still, some of the guards stepped aside for her before anyone gave the order, like they remembered her too. They walked me out of that room like I was fragile. For once, I didn't argue. I felt exactly that fragile. And then I saw her, standing in the middle of the throne hall like she owned the floor beneath her feet. I had never seen Mama Udara look small in a room before. She didn't look small then either. The king froze when he saw her. Not with fear exactly. With the look of a man seeing a death he thought he'd buried, standing very much alive in front of him. "You were told never to bring her here," Mama Udara said. Not a question. An accusation 17 years in the making. "I didn't bring her," the king said quietly. "The river did. I only answered when he finally called." "The river doesn't call," she said. "The river collects. There's a difference and you know it, and you let that girl walk in here anyway." "Someone," I said, louder than I meant to, "is going to tell me what I am, right now. I am done being the only person in this room who doesn't know." Nobody answered right away. I watched them decide, without speaking, which one of them would finally break 17 years of silence. In the end, it was Mama Udara who crossed the room, not the king. Because whatever this truth was, she wasn't going to let anyone else be the one to hand it to me. 17 years ago, she said, the river took something from this kingdom that it had no right to take, and it kept it safe the only way it knew how, by wearing the shape of a child. I'm not saying you're not my Tolani, Mama Udara said quickly. I'm saying you were never only that. You were always both. I looked down at my own hands like they belonged to someone I was only just being introduced to. Before Mama Udara could say another word, the entire palace shuddered like something enormous had just woken up beneath it and remembered it was hungry. A guard came sprinting from the old wing, soaked to the waist, screaming that the water wasn't staying inside the bowl anymore. It didn't flood the room. It didn't spread randomly. It came in one thin line, straight across the floor, straight toward me, like it had simply been waiting for someone to finally say my name out loud. If this chapter gave you chills, comment "The River Remembers" below. What do you think Tolani really is? And what do you think was waiting inside the bowl all these years? If you're enjoying this series, like, subscribe to Moonlight Tales by Joy, and share this story with someone who loves African fantasy, mystery, and folklore. The next chapter changes everything.